My name is Laveena Archers. Welcome, welcome. We are Human Design Mastery, part of the official sites of Human Design, as you can see. In today's masterclass, we are going to be discovering unique strategies that are going to help guide your team and your business, the mechanics of team success. If you are somebody who's working in a small grouping of people, this is about the human design system, and it's the future of business efficacy as far as being efficient and effective at work. It's about mastering your human dynamics of your genetic potential. And when we put people together, you're going to find that there are a lot of moving parts and pieces. We're going to talk about one of the most important things that I can give you. I mean, it is worth its weight in gold, so to speak, even though it's a concept. What it's going to help you see is whether or not you yourself or anybody that works with you is actually designed to work in a small grouping or in a small business of 3 to 5 people. And you can see that accordingly to the genetic potential that is inside of your human design body graph. So we're going to go ahead and dive in to unlock the keys to your work success secrets in a small grouping. So it's not just about you being aligned to your highest path and purpose. It's also about the group's fundamental structure as far as how is it that these 3 to 5 people are designed to work together. So I'm going to give you a big picture, high-level overview, and this is going to prepare you to start to use our human design for business software that we are unveiling into the world actually with this course. So it's part of the course. You get the software for an entire year for your personal use. It's because there are specific mechanical truths that are going to help you understand not only yourself in business, but also your team and who's designed to do what accordingly to their genetic potential. And this is one of the secret keys to unlocking a better bottom line when it comes to being yourself in business, when it comes to being trusted, being able to make money, when it comes to engaging in a way that's fulfilling, satisfying, peaceful, successful, what have you. This is the key to unlocking you in business in a way that's true. So if you're excited like me, let's go ahead and continue to talk about what a pentagraph is. Now you can see that's me there on this slide deck. We are going to unlock some of the biggest pieces that can seem a little bit heavy, we'll say, as in limiting or challenging when it comes to you being yourself in business. So this is about no longer compromising. I am a small business analyst and engineer. I've been studying this since 2015 in the business aspect. Human design came into my life in 2012, and I started working with it professionally in 2014, being hired by Jovian Archive, source of the human design system. So what you're looking at over here is the pentagraph. It is a graphical mapping of what happens when 3 to 5, that is the max and the minimum that it takes in order for the energetics of the different work dynamics of what happens in small groups, in order for us to determine how we can optimize performance within that small grouping, those people in that group. Now, success is not just about skill nor effort. It's not just even about doing things in a smart way. It's about aligning people correctly. So not only the task that they're designed to be able to perform, but also to get them in the right orientation with each other so that we get the best genetic potential result from that grouping, both individually when they're individual or working in partnership, or all together, all 3 to 5 of you. So please remember, when I'm talking to you about physical auric frequency, I'm talking about the tangibility of an aura between you and another. Auras reach generally to arm's length distance away. So the genetic mapping, the penta dynamic, only works when you are together in aura, physically. This does not work when you are at long distance away. So please understand, I'm talking about you in a group of 3 to 5 people day in and day out. And in fact, if you are somebody who has 3 people in your team and you're looking to add a 4th, I am offering an absolutely complimentary session with me, if you would like to, just please go ahead and write hello@humandesignmastery.com. Let me know you've got 3 people and you're looking to hire a 4th. I can advise you if you would be willing to work with me so that I can tell you what you're looking for to take the guesswork out of this, okay? It's part of our promotion to be able to help you use your genetic potential, and using our system, you're going to ensure that not only your leadership, but also the employee roles that you designate to each individual is aligning with their preferences, predispositions, their talents, their likely skills, so that you can get the best out of them, so that you can improve your bottom line. In this day and age, with the way that the financial markets are, I know that a lot of you are crunched for money as far as the tightening of monetary policy, and people are looking for more and more ways of not only making money, but being fulfilled in the workplace. And so oftentimes people are going off and making their own business because it's never been easier to do so in today's day and age. So if you had a tool that could help you reach your goals with less resistance and less burnout, not only for you getting burned out, trying to burn the candle at both ends, but also ensuring that your team doesn't burn out, wouldn't you want to use software that shows you how to do that? And that's the thing that I'm going to teach you how to do in Leadership Success. So with these human design keys, in order to understand the mastery of what it is to be yourself in business, it's about determining whether or not you function best independently, as in solo, doing your own thing, partnership, which we've done those 2 webinars. So if you missed out on those, I would suggest going back and watching them after you finish this one, obviously, if you're here live. But if you're on the recording, I would go watch solo and partnership first, and then this one. It's going to build upon your capability of understanding the languaging that I'm using, because today we're going to focus on team. And teams are built out of individuals and partners. Basically, a team is a rotating partnership, unless you actually do work best together in a group of 3 to 5 people. Now, that's a very rare occurrence to my seeing, as far as my experiencing of what I'm noticing in the workplace. So by the end of today's session, you're going to understand how it's better to structure teams for maximum efficiency. Now, this is not just theory. This is something that you can actually experiment with. You can observe in your own day-to-day life, and you can use our software. I'm going to explain to you why you want to use our software, and also our expertise as career and business, not only analysts, but engineers, so that you can achieve this kind of success, satisfaction, peace, or surprise that arises from the abundance inside. So again, solo is the first step. How are you designed to work solo? Can you work solo? Not everybody is designed to be able to thrive in a group setting. Some of us are designed to work better alone, or maybe an alternating partnership and then alone, doing our own thing, going our own way. And to understand each individual as they work on their own is a really important part of teams, because if you have people that you have spread all over the world and you expect them to be able to just take things and run with it, you're going to be sorely disappointed if they don't have a design that actually does work well solo. Sometimes we call it, oh, they're a self-starter, or they're really great without having to be managed or micromanaged, that kind of thing. We can see that in somebody's genetic mapping. Now, solo workers like me, oftentimes we're going to find remote work more successful, sweet, because we get to be our own boss. We get to do our own thing. We get to be in charge. So a lot of times you who are operating a team, who got into business for being able to call the shots and do your own thing, you might not really work well with a team, but you might need to build a team around you that you can lead, manage, or guide as the alpha. So that's an important concept here. Naraya, would you like to explain to us what an alpha is, as far as person who is in charge in this grouping?
What we're talking about here for an alpha is anybody who is managing a group, a small group of 3 to 5 people. They don't necessarily have to be within the group. They're outside of the group. So that way they have the advantage of being outside of these group mechanics. And typically what an alpha does, it'd be a manager. They don't have to be a manager, but they pull people one at a time to help guide them to do the best they can at their job, and then put them back. They don't necessarily go into the group and announce to everybody what to do, because it's much more efficient for a leader to individualize their leadership with a person one-on-one. It doesn't necessarily have to be anybody with the alpha channel or the alpha cross, or even a projector. Like some people say, oh, well, I'm not a projector, I can't be an alpha. And that's not true at all. Anybody can be an alpha.
I'm so glad you did a really good comprehensive job of what that means, as in anybody can be an alpha. And we're using very specific terms here. An alpha in human design is somebody who is in charge of either a small or large grouping. So anybody can be an alpha, but not everybody is comfortable in that role. So if you struggle with being a solopreneur, entrepreneur, a small business boss, our analysis and our software can show you whether or not you're designed for it and how you might be designed better to be able to perform as a team lead, manager, guide, or coach, or whatever it is that you happen to call yourself. So with another person, there might be a sharing of duties. What if you've got a partnership? If another structure of your work would be more beneficial to your productivity and your bottom line, you're going to find that out in this, some of it today, but also in the course that we're working with. So success in partnership was the thing that we covered after solo. And I would highly recommend that you hone your partnership skills in addition to your leadership skills if you want to be successful in business. Because if you don't have allies, if you don't have loyalty, trust, support, empowerment, then you're going to find the rug pulled out from under you when things get hard. Because in this current day and age, especially as we move closer and closer to 2027, we're all going into our own trip. And so everybody's going to be more self-absorbed as far as what their own process is, more aloof, more involved in being busy for themselves and not really caring about other people. So the stronger your bonds are now in your business, partnership, teams, what have you, the more likely it is you're going to survive and thrive as we move through the coming changes of 2027 and beyond. So in analyzing partnership, we see whether people are going to complement or crash. And we can see if there's an effective balance of leadership and support, of sharing of the duties. And if we're going to see the tensions or the challenges, how are the decision-making processes going to flow between the people, the partners? And Melanie and Naraya are a great example. They share leadership duties at Raw.tv as far as co-hosts, and they are completely different when it comes to their decision-making processes. So by coming into a space where we are actually putting into practice the human design system on a day-to-day basis, you're going to get not only great examples, but also people who are actually doing the work and advice and guidance from people who know how the system works from the source, Uru Hu, founder and first messenger of the human design system. So in all of this, it's not about us telling you what to do. It's about you learning how to be your own authority as well, using your strategy, because that is truly the key. Every single one of you has an absolutely, utterly unique decision-making process. It goes beyond just surface. We are going to dive deep into the mechanics. And if you don't actually know yourself, if you ignore how you're designed to function, if you let other people take advantage of you, or if you push yourself beyond your limits, ignoring your genetic potential leads to burnout, leads to bad business decisions, leads to inefficiencies, it leads to wasted time and energy. And our training is designed to encourage and ensure that each of you, if you bring your whole team in, is going to follow their decision-making process to the best of their ability, but at least learning it correctly to ensure that you get better alignment and better results when it comes to your work and your company. So in these working strategies, whether you're doing solo, partnership, small teams, or large groupings, we can see in your genetic mapping how this knowledge is designed to structure your business in the group correctly. whether you really do need rotating partnerships and everybody have their own office and maybe you have a joint break room, or whether you need to actually all work together in a co-working space. That is going to depend on your design. So we're going to help you optimize your business structure, the layout of how you work with each other, and optimize workflow in order for your communication, your productivity, to have breakthroughs when it comes to being able to be fulfilled in that grouping of whatever it is that you happen to have. So again, this is ideal for a group of 3 to 5 people working in person. And why this is key when it comes to these 4 work situations, it's about you thriving, not just surviving. It's not about trying to scrimp and, scrape in order to get to the bottom of the barrel and then discover that, you have to close your doors because you cannot sustain paying the bills of whatever it is that it takes for you to be in business. So it's about placing your people in the correct work environment. If they are in the wrong work environment, you're going to find that they're dissatisfied, that there's loss efficiency, of course, which means financial loss. And the software is going to make it much more simple for you to determine the ideal working conditions for each person. And this is the key that I'm going to tell you today. It's some of the stuff that you will not find anywhere else. It's incredible what human design for business will do for you. So what Naraya mentioned earlier is the secret of work success, and that is comparative analysis, a term coined by Ra, because businesses will succeed when your employees are in the right roles. The comparative analysis techniques that we use helps to determine what strengths, talents, gifts, weaknesses, flaws, areas of friction you might have, not only yourself, but with this person versus this person, and all the people on the team with each other in whatever variety you have to see them working under. So this is a method that is essential for increasing productivity and engagement on your team. If you don't have engaged people on your team, sorry, you're not going to go very far, because they're not going to be either pulling their weight or engaged and excited and happy and feeling like they're being seen and recognized and valued and appreciated if you don't get this right. So this is one of the most important gifts I can give you. Normally it would be like a whole course, and we're going to go through a crash course today with comparative analysis, because it's going to help you measure your compatibility and efficiency. I'm going to show you how your business can place people depending on the work situations. Again, solo, partnership, small group, and large group. Those are the 4 ways we can work. And this is looking at your body graph as well as your employee or partner body graphs in order to see what is the best way for not only you to interact with them, but for them to get the best out of themselves at the workplace. And this is because we want to give you practical tips. These tips are going to help result in better hiring decisions. It's going to increase your job satisfaction of everybody on the team and have a higher revenue. Most likely, you have been trying to make something work that actually isn't working. And it's not that there's anything broken. It's just that there's some missing pieces. So I'm going to tell you the secret keys to unlocking your team's potential. And the first step is that when you're in physical aura of 3 to 5 people, okay? 3 to 5 people. There is a unique group dynamic. And with that, because of the people who are in that group, you're going to have different strategies because those are different people. And that will dictate how each of these groupings are going to interact and how they're going to be most productive. So we call this Penta. Penta as in 5, Penta, small group dynamics. These building blocks of humanity, the larger groupings. Now, there's no end to hierarchy when it comes to workplace success. Certain people need to be in specific roles. Otherwise, it's just not going to fly with them, and you'll lose really good talent if they are not given the freedom to fly, as in do their thing. So, in the right grouping, using this method, it's essential to ensure that first you have the right people in the right places. And for that, we're going to look at Penta activations. If a small group lacks a certain activation, then we're going to have a problem. Period, full stop. If you're looking at a group dynamic of 3 to 5 people and they are missing one of the most important skills or skill sets, what you're going to find is that performance suffers, and it's like a sinking boat. You've got a big hole in your boat of your business, and there's as much money as you can stuff, or meetings, or whatever you want to call it. Because you've got that hole, because you've got a missing genetic key to your business success blueprint, what you're going to find is that you're going to lose money. Our software identifies the missing activations, and we're going to suggest hiring or restructuring solutions. Maybe right now you don't want to actually hire somebody because you're tightening the belt. Oftentimes people do that. They let people go. So how can you rearrange the way that you work together so that you don't come across that hole in your boat? This is one of the keys that we're going to teach you. Being comfortable in a small group is one of the most important things, because if you're uncomfortable, we're going to be able to help you reorganize so that you don't have such a problem with it. So if you do have questions, I'm going to advise, as far as specific to your design, I'm going to advise that you wait to the very end and use that Q&A if you'd like to, in order that we do our best to help you. There's a certain limitation that we have in these free webinars, in that we're not looking at your specific charts. In the courses, we study your charts and we ask for your questions ahead of time so that we can research, analyze what's going on. This is going to be especially important when it comes to Penta small groups, because they are way more complex to analyze. So what we look at first is it right for you to have a small grouping? In the Penta, we're looking at channels that create definition. If you have a channel, you're more likely to thrive in that small grouping. If you don't have a channel, then you're going to struggle in small teams. Now look down at these body graphs, if you would, for me, please, and also look at yours. One of the things you're going to notice about this group of 5 is that 4 out of these 5 people are actually going to burn themselves out if they have to work in that group for 40 hours a week. They're not designed to work day in, day out in the same small grouping, all up in each other's face, aura. So what happens is oftentimes you're like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, trying to make yourself fit, trying to cut off other aspects of yourself in order to belong. And you are slaving away at building a business that keeps falling through the cracks because things don't necessarily get done in the way that they need to be, because you're missing the right people in your team. So when it comes to being able to treat your team members with respect, this is not about seeing, oh, you don't belong in the small group, let's fire you. It's about repurposing them or having them work in a different situation so that it doesn't feel like drudgery to work in that small grouping. Their energetic availability has to be able to merge or be married together with the right people or in timing with the right partner, depending on whatever it is that your business structure has to offer. As far as this example, this is the only one here in the middle that's designed to work in a small business, as an example, okay? The other ones, 3 people to 5 people, day in and day out, burnout is likely the result. So if that person in the middle now, who's carrying most of the weight of the work, isn't given the availability to respond to their energetic nature, as in doing what feels satisfying, that one too is going to feel frustrated and burnt out. And so no wonder most small businesses fail. Did you know that? It's a sad truth. Most small businesses fail. I know you don't want to fail, so why not set yourself up for success? Let's not be disappointed, dissatisfied, frustrated, angry, or bitter. Let's set ourselves up for success. So let's look at this small grouping. Again, this is a Penta chart. You will not have a Penta chart in your software if you have the free versions. My apologies, it is an upgrade. this is the thing that we're going to work with now, okay? But a little key, a little tip, trick, hint that I'm going to share with you is you see this red square down here, the sacral, and you see this brown square up here, the throat center. It is those channels between the throat, the identity or the G center, the higher self, and the sacral that are actually Penta channels. You can see that it's completely empty over here. No activations within that Penta area of the body graph. So this really is the key that we're looking at. Watch what happens when I move forward. See all these little activations. Okay, now they're in the Penta. You see what happened? So what we're looking at the top is throat, G, and sacral. The thing is that when you get 3 to 5 people together, it's no longer those centers. It's a field, kind of like a merging of these energetic availabilities. So these activations that come together, it's a swirl, a vortex of energy. And it's one of the things that you can actually go and experiment with and see what it feels like to have a grouping that doesn't have anything missing. Like this one right here is an example. It's missing vision. They're missing an incredible, important part of direction. So there is a problem. There is a gap in this grouping. And you're not going to fix it by just throwing more money down the drain. Let's go in this direction. Let's go in this direction. You're actually going to lose a lot of money in that way. I've been there, done that. I know what it's like. So we're going to call out specific areas of this Penta dynamic and show you what's most important for people to ensure that they have their bases covered. First thing, we have to have the team be pulled together. Second thing, we need to hold that team together. Third thing is we need to have resources in order for that small business to thrive. And they need to be spent or go in the right direction. There are 3 different directions that can go in. It can go into overseeing operations. It can go into planning for operations. And it can go into marketing to clients so that we ensure we have customers in order that the business thrives and brings in more money than it takes for the business to be run. You know, there's so many expenses when it comes to making money in business. There's all these different tools and things that you need in order, not to mention taxes and so forth and so on. So if you are missing any one of these areas, what you're going to find is it's really hard to make money. It's like, again, your boat is sinking. And no matter what you do, you just can't seem to make the bills and actually make more money. So this is one of the keys to making more money, is to see someone like me or Naraya as a small business analyst and engineer in order to ensure that you are not missing vital, important aspects of what makes a small business thrive. Now, when you look at your body graph and you say, well, I don't have anything down there. Does this mean a small business is not for me? Well, it depends. It depends on your type. It depends on your aura. It depends on what else is going on in the entirety of the body graph. So please don't draw any conclusions of anything that I'm saying. If this, then that. That's not the case. Okay, so please stick with me. We're going to see that what happens is if you are in aura, certain people are not going to be seen, valued, and appreciated for certain aspects of themselves. And that can feel incredibly frustrating, angry-making, embittering, disappointing. So why put yourself in a situation that actually isn't right for you, that doesn't help you thrive? It's showing you, if you don't have activations, full channels there, that it's less likely that you're going to feel good in that small grouping. So don't force yourself in there. Don't push yourself into the small grouping. Don't try to work in the team day in and day out. It's just going to make your boat sink. Instead, it's about leveraging your genetic potential. As an example, any projector, particularly one with energetic imprints outside of the pentic area, is going to work best one at a time, one person at a time. So rather than attempting to work day in and day out, fastest road to burnout I know of is to be in that grouping constantly as a non-energy type, the projector, okay? So your body graph is going to show you a lot of the keys, clues, tips, tricks, techniques of how to make decisions correctly. If you're new to this, definitely start at the beginning. Work with the My Body Graph software in order to know how to make a decision that you can trust. Now we're looking at your genetic blueprint or your mapping. So again, I'm going to highlight the place where our pentadynamic gate activations are. You see right here, look down at your body graph. What are the activations that are there? Now I'll tell you, they're not all equal. We are not created equal. We are created different and unique. And it's about accepting your uniqueness and not compromising your integrity of being yourself for yourself in business or to guide other in their business, what have you. It is about ensuring that you know what is it that you bring to the table so that you don't accept anything less than what you deserve, which is respect to the nature of what you bring to the table. Now, that's all the activations that go from my body graph into the pentagraph. I bring a lot to the table. It's incredibly valuable. That's not to say that I'm better than anybody else. Please don't misunderstand me. It's just that some of us are built for certain things, form follows function, while other people are built for other things. We're all unique. And it's about succeeding in the small grouping, if it's right for you to do, by bringing what you have to offer to the table and not trying to do those things that are not right for you. As an example, you can see the activations that are completely open in Laveena's pentagraph. These are not my skills, my talents, my gifts. Now, working in a small group, as an example, with Mel and Naraya, when we're working together, if we were in person, they would take precedence over me with very specific activations that they have. It's not an accident. Oh, I chose them, as in the reason why they're with me is because one is forward-looking, one assesses the past, and I'm here standing for the present, as in being the spokesperson of the business. So we all have our situational context. And what happens is that I don't necessarily get access to my capability of what I bring to the table, nor be seen or valued or appreciated when I'm working with them. They need to take center stage. Even though my activations do contribute to the group and its success, it is not something that I'm going to be seen for, recognized for, valued, or appreciated. So then what you can see is that there's actually quite a lot that I bring to the table that people might not be able to really see that I'm bringing, that I'm doing. I know, but they might not see it because there's somebody else that's shining in that spotlight, rightly so, because it's their genetic potential to do so, okay? So what we're looking at then, will you succeed in the small grouping? That's ultimately, again, up to your strategy, your authority, being someone who can make trustworthy decisions. If you can't make trustworthy decisions or be seen as trustworthy when you're waffling, wishy-washy, saying what you know somebody wants to hear rather than like really laying it out there as far as this is the truth or this is my truth or whatever it happens to be, unfortunately, you're not going to be trusted as a leader, okay? When people can see right through you, and most people at work or, not very consciously aware of what's happening can oftentimes think that they're doing the right thing to the detriment of their authoritative principle or their authenticity. So it's, again, always about being your own authority. And that was the first thing. What penta channels do you have? Besides the fact that we need to look at your type and definition, which we have briefly seen already in the last couple of trainings. So let's talk a little bit more about penta channels. If you're comfortable in the small group, you might not even be worried about being here because they're not, I've got that mastered. But if you're having a little bit of challenge, either making groups stick and be productive and happy together, or, trying to make it work in a small group for yourself, you want to stick around because check this out. It's really not that complicated. If you have a defined channel in the penta, the answer is going to be either yes or no. That means a lot. So let's go take a look at it. First things first, if yes, you may enjoy working in a small group. However, what happens is there are some exceptions. The exceptions are manifestors, triple splits, and also projectors. The challenge with manifestors is that they need freedom, freedom of action, freedom of manifestation, freedom of autonomy. They are manifested energy types, only about 10% of the population. So those don't necessarily feel great in a small grouping unless they're the ones who are in charge and actually can, be the boss, tell other people what to do. But how many of you really like bosses who tell you what to do? Not really, right? As far as, is that really fulfilling to have somebody lord it over you and tell you what to do? It's not comfortable for the manifestor either, not necessarily, not in that small grouping. So the projector is another exception. Projectors are designed to work one-on-one. Both of these types, manifestor, projector, they're non-sacral, meaning they're non-generative. So what happens when they're in the small group day in, day out? Burn out. That is a problem. Triple split, we're going to revisit in case those of you who don't know what I'm talking about yet. We'll look at that when we go to definition, so I can just give you the visual. So where is the definition within the pentagraph? That's going to make a difference too. We're looking at given roles like Naraya, Mel, and myself, people who have this upper pentagraph definition, versus lower pentagraph definition. These are generative channels. They need managing, or in other words, they need to be asked in order for the response to happen so that they can be productive. So based on the mechanics of your human design, you may not enjoy being managed in a small grouping. This is just a generalization, but it's a really important key. Now, I'll tell you, I've been using this word we call definition, and it's come to mind that I need to make sure that I know you know what I'm talking about when I say definition. Definition is a locked-in fixedness from birth where you have the entirety of a channel, okay? That is definition. So to be technically correct, I'm just going to show you an example of my chart because there are some misconceptions out there in the world of human design if you've been learning online or depending on who you're learning from. When it comes to what is defined, all Laveena has in her chart as an example is the middle channel. That's defined. This is not defined. This is not defined. These gate activations hanging, that is not definition to be technically correct. Definition is the channel activation. The life force is in the channel. The channel, as you can see, gates on either side meeting in your natal design, it is what creates the consistency, the strength in your design. Even though those other activations are absolutely part of you and they can be contributed to the group working, it is not this whole story, the center stage, the majority of the movie, you could say. Okay, so first things first, we've got some exceptions to the rule. There are exceptions to most rules, aren't there? Where is that definition? Again, we saw given roles up at the top or down below needs managing. So you may not be comfortable in that small grouping because why? You might not have a great manager, somebody who understands or gets you or gives you things to respond to that are in accordance with what you came here to do, why you're here, your fulfillment of purpose. So there are considerations, key questions to all of this. We won't go into all of it today, but some of it we may. One of them is you have a money channel. Anybody else have activations within the money channel? Lucky you. One of the things that is not so lucky is that it makes it harder to work in a small grouping. I'll tell you from experience, because if you have the 45 right here, you need to be in charge. If you have the 21 right here, you need to be in control. It's a genetic wiring. So what happens, because it's outside of the small grouping, if you are not able to have the freedom of action, particularly if you have this channel defined, the money channel, then what happens is you get angry, you get pissed, And nobody likes anybody working around anybody who's pissed. Not really, truly. That consideration of being a gate 21, hi, that's me, requires being in control. I mean, it's a genetic requirement. So if you have either of those activations, you're not going to necessarily feel comfortable in that small grouping, like the 21 by itself even, or the 45 by itself even. These are leaders. These are people who are sometimes rulers, designed to be in charge. And in fact, any large group channel that is within, here, I'll show you. This is an example. So an example chart that is within your natal design. Here are all the large group channels. It may feel really uncomfortable for you to get locked into that small grouping because I'll tell you, genetically speaking, your greatest financial abundance comes from being in a larger grouping, not a smaller grouping. It's Ra's almost direct quote, as in, you are going to experience more money if you work in a larger group context. So all of you out there trying to be solopreneurs, trying to do your own thing, go your own way, be your own boss, and you don't have a team built around you, then you're going to have a problem, as in not being able to achieve what this design is actually potentially built for. Now, another challenge we have here is the integration channel. We've spoken about that before. These are people who want to do things in their own way, to do their own thing. That can seem very self-centered, self-absorbed, selfish, and yet they are designed that way to do their own thing. So not designed to be comfortable in the team. You see how beautiful this visual, if it's new to you, granted, I imagine it might be a little bit overwhelming, but it's very clearly seen in your body graphs. Just like your body doesn't lie, your body graph can't lie either. It is your genetic potential. So now what happens if you don't have a defined channel inside of the Penta? You may not enjoy working in a small group, as in this experience may develop wisdom about other people, but for you, is it going to be self-satisfying? Something that really brings meaning to your life? Not likely, not really or truly. Experiment with it, try it and see. But can you imagine that if you look down at this body graph as an example, we see a basic split definition because the definitions areas are split apart from each other. We see somebody who does not have any defined channels within that grouping. They have some activations, granted, so they can get hooked into that small grouping. However, the capability of actually being used by life in a way that's most satisfying and gives you the greatest appreciation for your value and your gifts, that's not going to cut it at small grouping because it locks you in, it limits you, it limits your capability of being yourself. It's basically conditioning. And what we who are engineers and analysts do is we're helping to engineer you through activating yourself as your own authority so that you can see the difference of what a situational set and setting makes to you when it comes to working with other people. In relational context to you in your life, you can experiment with it. You can try it and see.